Yeah, welcome back, everybody. So, just a quick recap. So, last episode we looked at NCEA. What is it? How does it work? How do you pass? I explained the CAAs, or your common assessment activities, co-requisites, literacy and numeracy. We looked at how NCEA is currently being reviewed as well, and what changes will come from that over the next sort of few years. We've looked at your school's parent portal and how important that is that you log in and sign up for that as well. Also, for our senior students to log into NZQA as well to keep up to date with exams, past exam results, and also what's coming up as well for the year. So, episode 2, we want to look at starting fresh and setting goals with our kids, especially for this year as well, just to sort of plan ahead. We want to look at their subject choices, things like pathways, what's available for them at their school. We'll talk about NCEA, how it's assessed for level 1. We'll look at NCEA assessment for level 2 and 3, internals versus externals, university entrance. We'll look at approved subjects for university entrance as well. And then we'll maybe look at some study tips as well for your kids, and how us as parents can help our kids at home in terms of time management, just so that they're ready for the year, so they have a head start and sort of not held back. And then lastly, we might just finish off with talking about the Talanoa Ako digital app as well, which is available for our parents. So yeah, we'll get underway. Ollie, welcome back. So obviously, 2026, we want to start and sort of make sure we get the ball rolling for our kids in terms of their assessments, and obviously thinking about setting goals with our kids. Obviously, my son is only 6 years old, so maybe Ollie, you've had experience because your kids are a little bit older, in terms of setting goals for the school year. So you want to talk about that conversation as well?
Yeah, sure. Hey, like I know, like the same with our tamariki, our own children. Like we also have to set, goals for ourselves. I know about Sam, but even as a department, even at school as teachers, we have to set, we have to set goals in our department, even with our, what we want to achieve and whatnot. So always starts with us, and putting my parent hat on, with my children. In the beginning of the year, we would always like sit down together as a family and talk about our goals. I remember when my older kids were young, we had lots of goals we had to sit to set. I'd always, ask them what's a short-term goal, what's a goal that they want to achieve quite quickly, what's a long-term goal. They also had to come up with a health goal and also a spiritual goal. And I would type it up on a Google Doc and I would always like check in once a month with them. So it was a good way to gauge like how my children are doing, especially when they're sharing things like, oh, like I'm struggling with this goal. And just like myself, had the same health goal like every single year, you know, want to lose weight, want to go to the gym. Our kids always, our kids also, there's things that they're struggling with. And it's just a good gauge to see where they're at. But of course, you don't have to wait, for like a formal like, family gathering. Just check in with your child, just around the table when you're having dinner. Like, we do that like informally, even on the way to school, or if you pick up your child. When I do pick up my son, I'm always checking in with him, like, how's your day? What was the best thing you did in class today? And he'll be like, oh, I didn't like writing. I didn't like writing today. Like he has literacy is not really his strength. So yeah, we talk about it a lot, why don't you like writing? Oh, we write about boring things. So I'm like, oh, okay. So why don't you tell your teacher, if you can write about this? Oh, our teacher said we have to write about this. So I'm like, oh, okay. So, how can I help? Or, how can we help you so you're able to write about, or enjoy writing, because that's what I want my son to do. I want him to enjoy it. I don't want him to keep being, boggled down. So I did talk to his teacher, and she, I just expressed, oh, my son's already struggling with writing, with literacy, and so maybe, writing about, certain topics will excite him or give him a choice. And so yeah, and she was really accommodating. So when you do sit down, sorry, we were talking about goals, but this goes to, it all links. So, even going to see your child's teacher, it all helps when you set these goals, you're able to gauge where your child's at, and then you can go and have a chat with the teacher. So, I mean, I really believe goals are important. It's something, that we need to work to, not only as parents or teachers or, adults, sorry. Same as our children. They need some sort of direction where they're going, because what's the use saying, they're coming to school, what are they doing? What's the purpose of everything? So yeah, I mean, a lot of my kids are older now, but I still hope that they're setting goals, and yeah, hitting those targets. So yeah, hopefully that was a bit helpful.
Yeah, that was
No,
awesome.
sorry,
Thank
Sam.
you.
Even though Emmett's like 6, it's never too young. It's never too
Yeah,
young to set goals with him. Yeah.
yeah. Now, thanks for that, Ollie. Definitely something to look forward to as a parent as well. Like that's really cool. You have those conversations with your kids. Yeah, and it's the same with our students at school. Having those conversations, whether it's like formal or informal as well. Now, thank you for sharing that. Definitely something to look forward to as a parent. Our conversations are, yeah, probably not as in depth with my son, who's 6. Um, but I do sort of make sure that he's sort of doing well and enjoying it. Um, he goes to a Samoan immersion school, so his favorite thing at the moment is numera. So he always talks about numera, which is really good because I never liked maths at school, but he's really into numera. But yeah, in terms of goals, obviously with my classes as well, beginning of the year, we do sort of set goals, but I've tried to do something a little bit different this year in terms of not just sort of focusing on goals for school as well, but like because obviously our goal as teachers, we're not just teachers anymore. We want to create like really good people as well. So I've started using these in my class, which is your the Langa cards. Um, and it's really cool just the conversations we have as well. So right at the start of the year, I gave them a sort of set of questions from the Langa ones, and it's more just to get to know who they are. A bit of whakawhanaungatanga, just to understand who's in my classroom with me, where do they want to go, where do they see themselves, whether that's my year 9s or whether that's my year 13s. It's building that community within our class as well. And that in itself, like to me, is sort of working on our goals together as well, because it's like a shared journey for all of us, which I find really cool just because the boys are so our boys at St. Paul's, they're happy to be vulnerable in front of the class as well and sort of share their answers. So I try to give them like a level 1 question, which is your sort of surface level, just to sort of break the ice, and then we go into the sort of deep and more personal stuff, and they're happy to be vulnerable and share as well. So yeah, a different way of sort of setting those goals, but understanding that it's we're doing this collectively as a class as well. We're all in this together, and it's not just sort of one person's journey in our class. It's all of our journey together. So that's been really cool. A good way to start the year. Yeah, I guess the SMART goal acronym is always important as well for our kids. Setting SMART goals, which is an acronym for specific, measured, achievable, relevant, and then time based as well. So, yeah, I think that's a good conversation to sit down and have with your kids. And like you said, Ollie, doesn't have to be like a formal thing. It can just be like, when you're in the car and just sort of understanding who they are. But even not just asking them, like, what do you want to do when you leave school? Like maybe asking them, like, who do you want to be? What kind of person do you want to be? because then you can sort of frame your goals around that rather than having I guess, the end goal being the career or whatever it is. Like we want to create good people who serve in our community, I guess, in the end. But that's my sort of 2 cents on that. Like I said, I've got lots to look forward to. As you know, my son's only 6, but hopefully when he gets to sort of high school age and stuff, we've had these conversations already, and like I've already put stuff in place for him to, I guess, be comfortable in sharing his goals and aspirations. So yeah, that's the goal. I'd rather have that than talk about like what does he want to be when he grows up, and so yeah, something a little different. Hopefully that's helpful to our parents as well. Um, yeah, so in terms of the reason why we talk about goals, obviously, because we want to talk about our kids' progression at school. Like, are they picking the right subjects, the right options that will ultimately lead them to whatever career it is they want to pursue? So that's probably something that we need to talk about as well. Obviously, for us and most schools as well, we get our students years 7 to 12 to pick their options probably around like September, October, November. So that by the time it comes to December, the timetable's done. They've got their subjects locked in. And so obviously for each of their options, when they pick their options, there's like a real clear description of what the subject is they're taking and what it leads to in terms of like further career opportunities and pathways. And so hopefully that conversation is happening at home as well. Obviously your main ones, like I'm always going to advocate for English because I think it's really important as well as an English teacher. But I think English is always important for our kids just to have those foundational skills, the literacy skills, to be able to, I guess, do well in whatever career pathway they choose. So yeah, I think having those conversations at home in terms of option choices, subject choices, really important in terms of maybe coming together as a family too to understand as parents, okay, maybe my son or daughter wants to do like this as their career. How can I help them or advocate for them to get to the right career pathway in terms of their subject choices at school? So yeah, I don't know. What was your experience with that, Ollie, in terms of like your kids and we're
I was
picking
just
options?
gonna, I was just gonna share that with you because my daughter, number 3, so she wanted to be an engineer. This is like year 12, year 13, but she didn't take physics or calculus.
Yeah,
So yeah, that one was a bit of a tricky one. Like like kids, guess maybe like some adults, like kids, they keep changing what they wanna,
yeah,
even though we have the conversations, oh, what do you wanna do after school? Or, what do you want to do in the future? What do you want to be? And it was always like, I want to be a lawyer. So she was taking like English, like history, like, that sort of thing. And then like in the year 12, she goes, I want to be an engineer. And like I'm thinking, oh my goodness, you didn't even take physics or like, calculus or, whatever, chemistry. And so who did I have to I had to go, I think we went and well, she went to go see she saw her dean and she also spoke to the career advisor.
yeah,
So I think the best thing for her was to go to uni to do like a bridging, like a foundation, like a course thing, So I think yeah, like you said, like subjects, it's really, really important, you know, um, that you pick the right subjects. I mean, like it matches like what you want to do, later on.
mm,
So and if like kids change their minds and stuff, and if that happens, talk to the dean, talk to the head of department at your child's school, even the school, the career advisor,
yeah,
um, because those subjects, they're like the key to opening the door, I guess, for your child. And they always give like the careers advisor, the dean there, they always give you some really cool advice, So it didn't work out for my daughter to, go and take physics year 13. So yeah, she had to go and do like a foundation course before beginning, engineering. So
yeah,
yeah. So it's really, really, I guess it's really important. Like you said, Sam, the subject choices are important for what your child wants to do later on.
Mm. I mean, I remember being like a teenager myself as well, and we're sort of unsure about what we want to do when we leave school as well. So, I mean, I guess not everybody has made that decision this early in their school life, but I mean, yeah, I guess it's always a good to have that keep that dialogue open with your kids as well. Um, I touched on this last period, but in terms of NCEA level one, so we talked about the new changes and how it's assessed. So not too different from level two and three now. Like the old NCA level one, you still have your internal assessment and external assessment split. So as I mentioned in the last episode, so internal assessments are the ones they do throughout the year um, during class time. Teacher gives them a deadline. They work on that, and then they submit their work internally. So that's just within school. Teacher gives them a mark. The teacher gets like the work moderated as well, whether they pass that to another colleague or they give it to someone outside of the school as well, just to check mark, and then they send it back, and those marks go into the student management system, which we talked about last episode as well. So that's your internals, and then externals. They're sort of set as our old school exams. So that's usually a 3 hour exam, and they do that in November.
Sam,
Um,
what,
yep.
like, I'm sorry, just thinking, what do you prefer, or what do you think, or what did you prefer? What do you think students prefer, nowadays?
Yeah, because obviously we're a little bit older. we
Just a little bit.
I went through the old system of your school C sixth form certificate and bursary as well, where it was really exam heavy, and so you could kind of just sort of muck around throughout the year, but you just really had to cram for these exams. Um, but I mean, I can see the benefit in both. I really like the internal assessment model just because students who may not do well in exams, like that's not their, they find it hard and it gives them a lot of anxiety exams. So working throughout something internally throughout the year, getting constant feedback from your teachers, that works for some, and which is the
Yeah.
reality for a lot of the workplaces that may end up going to, where it's not one exam and then you either continue with your job or you lose your job, So um, I see the benefits in both, and especially for a lot of our students here at the college as well. I can see the ones who really thrive doing internal assessments
Yep.
um, because it's a bit more not as I guess cutthroat as externals.
Mm.
Whereas the sort of externals is your real sort of summative assessment, where it sort of depends on that whether you go into do well in the next year level or go into tertiary study. So yeah, I can see the benefits in both. If I was to choose one, for me personally, I do like the externals. I like the pressure of sitting an exam, um, and I like obviously the process as well of like studying for exam. Like obviously now as a teacher, preparing our students for exams as well is a lot different to when I was at school. But I feel like as teachers, we're a lot more prepared in terms of the tools we're giving our kids. Whereas back then, I wasn't sure about the teachers back then, and it's like whether they gave me what I needed to
I
pass.
know.
But yeah, I feel
I
like now we're definitely a lot more better as
yeah.
teachers giving
I
out.
so agree. I so agree with you, Sam. I love the externals. I love the exams. I love cramming at the end of the year, or whenever we sit the exams. And I think, like you said, I think back then, um, I used to go into exams thinking, because this we didn't. My teachers did the same. We were covering this in the exam. So yeah, I remember having that bit of anxiety, but I loved it. So yeah, no, we should talk about the teachers because look at us today. Look where
Yeah.
we are.
But yeah, so that's our internals and externals. I mentioned last episode as well about the difference between unit standards and achievement standards. So unit standards are you either get a not achieved or an achieved. So you either pass or fail for those. Whereas achievement standards are a little bit different. You get the the name acronym, which is not achieved, achieve, merit, and excellence. So obviously, we want to always aim for excellence for our kids. So when they sort of calculate your GPA or your rank score, um, they look at how many merits and excellences you have. So an excellence is worth 4 points, merit is 3 points, achieved is 2 points. So depending on what course, just like we talked about before in terms of setting goals and career pathways, depending on what course you want to take at tertiary study, the higher the more excellences you have, the higher your rank score will be. So I guess that's a really good carrot for our kids in terms of, hey, look, I want to get into this course. For example, engineering, like we just talked about, requires a certain number of excellence in terms of your points as well. So really important that we're talking to our kids about how to get an excellence, how to get a merit, and that kind of language just becomes normalized. So they should be asking their teachers when they start an internal assessment, how can I get an excellence? What does an excellence look like? And
Mm.
teachers are good. We'll give them the exemplar. Like, here's an exemplar from previous years. This is what an excellence looks like. And so obviously teachers should be scaffolding that learning as well. So, obviously you can't just sort of expect kids to just turn up and get an excellence. You got to scaffold that information for your students as well. So
So Sam,
really,
like I think back then it was like as long as I just pass, a pass is a
yeah,
pass.
yeah.
I think like what's the importance of like, the endorsement, like endorsing with excellence and merit.
Yeah. So again, in order to get an endorsement, excellence or merit, you have to get 50 credits at merit or excellence. If you're short on merit credits by, like, I don't know, say 10 or whatever, your excellence credits count as a merit as well. So yeah, really important. Our kids are aiming for endorsements. Again, when they apply for jobs, when they go to university, these excellence and merit endorsements, because it's a internationally like recognized qualification. So, that's what they'll separate kids who get merit and excellence endorsement from those who just get an achieved. They've introduced like an achievement endorsement as well. But obviously, we want our kids to aim for merit and excellence as well. So it just sort of gives them a better chance of doing well and getting into the courses they want to get into. So, yeah,
Makes
so
sense.
that's merit and excellence endorsement. That's 50 credits at merit or excellence. So, um, and our boys, I mean, our school, most schools have for each subject, there's usually about 20 credits on offer per subject anyway. So students should be finishing the year with about, I'd say, 100 to 120 internal credits. And then they get another chance for all their externals as well. So, yeah, there's plenty of opportunity. Our kids just need to ask those questions, like, how do I get an excellence? How do I move my essay, for example, to from an achieve to a merit and excellence? So they should be asking these questions. Parents should be asking these questions as well. How does my child move their work from an achieve to a merit and excellence? So really important we're having these conversations with our teachers, with our heads of department as well, so that students are clear. Because if students are clear on what to do, the parents will be as well. Then they can explain to their parents, yeah, look, I got a merit here, and this is what I should have done to get an excellence. So, yeah.
And
um, yeah, just following off from that as well, university entrance, really important. Um, at our school, all of our subjects, except for technology, is university approved. So for our seniors, all of the subjects they take in year 13 are all university approved subjects, which means that it's recognized by all the universities. So in order to get university entrance, you need 14 credits and 3 approved subjects. So like I said, at our school, all of our subjects, except for technology, is university approved. So, and in saying that as well, like technology in terms of hard materials, we sort of also do digital technology as well with Mr. Maharaj. So he runs that, and that's university approved. So, um, there's no shortage of approved subjects for our students to take. They have all those options available to them as well. Other schools may be different as well. They may only offer, um, 4 approved subjects. So students have to get into those 4 approved subjects and hope to pass at least 3 to get into university. So that's the requirement from universities. They need 14 credits and 3 approved subjects. So that's our university entrance. Yeah, I guess just in terms, obviously, we were talking about exams and externals as well. What would you say for NCEA study tips for our learners? Ollie, do you have any advice for them there?
I know when my older kids, like they used to come home, and one of my daughters was taking chemistry, and I was like, you know, I guess as a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything about chemistry, how can I help? How can I help when I don't know anything? I guess as a parent, you don't need to be or a teacher or I guess an expert at a subject to be a great supporter. There are 3 things you can do today to help support your child. One of them is time management. I think not that's not only just for children, that's also for me as a parent, as an adult. I'm still working on this time management. So I guess with our boys, they do a lot, not just in school, but also out of school. So helping balance sports, trying to study, even with church commitments. There's a lot of things you can help support your child with. But yeah, I think with me, time management is a big one with our boys. Maybe just, an hour study, if you're gonna do an hour of sport, this day, or you're gonna do 2 hours of sport, I think giving 2 hours of study up, the same day would be good as well. So I guess, it's just trying to manage your time. So there's time management. Also, helping to support your child is giving them a quiet place to study, or just their own space. It's hard to study. I know my son comes into the sitting room to the lounge, the TV's on, and then he's trying to do his homework. I'm like, bro, you can't do your homework in here. So, he's like, oh, I don't want to study in the room. It's too quiet. So I guess, just, turning the TV off, or just giving him that space, or giving your child that space, and making sure, there's good light as well. So sometimes he'll be, trying to do it in the dark and whatnot. That makes a difference. Quiet space, good lighting. Also, number 3 is, I guess, a planner. I know, I'm sure Sam has a bit of a notebook. I do. I have a planner, as a teacher. As a mum, mine's on my phone, a calendar. But giving having a planner, I guess, visible for your child. Even writing due dates on a calendar, putting it up. So I guess not only them seeing the deadline, but yourself, you can see, okay, this is due. I got to make sure, that, they're studying, that we don't have anything planned for this week or whatnot. And you can also remind them, just keep reminding, your children, even when they're getting older, you still have to remind them things as well. Is there any other study tips you want to add on, Sam?
No, that's really cool. I really enjoy that as well. Yeah, look, time management is a big one. I was just thinking about, a lot of our students at our school, especially our bus flicker kids. There's so many commitments outside of school. Um, when we actually come down to do the schoolwork, we're already behind the 8 ball. And then the parents expect us to do, our kids to do like, perform miracles pretty much with their assessments and their exams. So, yeah, time management is really important. I think it's about prioritizing what's important, especially for our kids. Yeah, like I said, I think about some of our boys at school. Um, they'll do like a morning training. We'll go to the seminary in the morning. They'll come to school. They'll have training after school. Um, that's a Monday. Tuesday, they'll do the same thing, morning training, then training after school or for club. Wednesday, usually game day for league, for school. Thursday, training again for union. Friday might be the day off. And then Saturday, game day. Sunday, church, youth. And then they do it
A lot.
again every week.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. So, and then we haven't even talked about like any schoolwork there. That's just like their commitments outside of school. Which is fine, and that's because we want our boys to be involved in the school as well, as much as they can. But also, we need to, as parents, probably need to prioritize. Okay, when does my child actually get to study?
Mm.
And a quiet place, as you mentioned, really important as well. Whether that's at the school library after school, or if it's at the public library after school. I know when I was younger, I used to go to the public library for meetups, but for the wrong thing. But
I still
but
love the public library. Thank you.
hopefully now it's a little bit different. But yeah, like even just going to the public library, just having that quiet space to actually study. And obviously knowing how to study is really important as well. Like, because it's not just sort of going through and highlighting your whole textbook, and just sort of thinking that that's going to give you all the information you need.
Yeah.
I think knowing how to study is really important for our students too. So maybe as parents, what you could do at home is just sort of, do your own research as well. Teach your kids how to study. Give them the
It's different, eh,
time.
Sam?
It's
I mean,
different.
it's, yeah,
Yeah.
every child's different. Because when I studied when I was young, I needed to have like I used to write things down and put it on my wall. So when I
Mm.
was lying in bed, like I always saw the notes all over the wall, and then I'd read through it. But everyone's different. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I think like things like, when we come to studying for exams, like flashcards, I've found like work quite well with our students. And obviously in English as well, just giving them like a one-page doc with everything that they need to study, I found is really helpful for our students. But yeah, look, every kid's different, as Ollie mentioned. So you might need to find out what's best for your kid and how they study best as well. Which is what we do as teachers. We find out how they learn best as well. So that's probably a conversation that needs to be had at home. But yeah, I think time management really important, especially at year 13, because they want to be committed to the school. They want to be involved in everything. So it's about balancing that time, prioritizing what's important. When do I actually get to sit down and do my assessments and study? Because like I said, times have changed from when we were at school. You could just sort of cram for 2 weeks before the
yep.
exam and you might do well, you might pass. Whereas now the internal assessments is a lot different. It's sort of working throughout the year, meeting different checkpoints at different times. So just making sure we're having those conversations with our kids, knowing that when their assessments are due. I think one thing that came up from our parents, which we've started doing as well, is sort of sending home an assessment outline. So the parents know exactly, okay, this week, week 8, term 1, first assessment is due. Week 2, term 2, week 5, this next assessment is due. So their parents can actually talk to their kids and say, hey, look, you've got an assessment due today. Maybe you might just skip that youth practice, or whatever it is. Maybe just skip that training for today. Let your coaches know, because you got an assessment due, so you need to work on that. So yeah, I think having those conversations, keeping that dialogue open with your kids, but also communicating with the school. So when are the due dates and what's coming up? So I think that's really important.
Thanks for that, Sam. I know we come to the end of the session.
Mm.
Don't forget more tips. You can access through the Talanoa Ako digital app, and that's through like the Google Play Store. So it's full of information, and I think it was like in 7 languages, 7 Pacific languages, to help you support your child. But also just go down to your child's school, go talk to them. The deans, everyone's available there. So yeah, don't be shy to go in and go see your child's school. So next week, session 3, we're going to be looking at government priorities. Okay, so like with all these changes, the government's education priorities focus on lifting achievement. So that's why they've, implemented these changes. So we're going to be looking at all that next week. But yeah, have a great week. Ka kite ano. See you again next week.